This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV, it's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Lowe's knows how to help you get the most out of your store run. That's why members save more with MyLowe's Rewards. Earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases. Get access to member-only deals and free member gifts. Plus, unlock free standard shipping when you reach Silver Key status. So what are you waiting for? Join for free today. Lowe's. We help. You save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Hello, this is Ross Kenyon. I'm the host of this show, Reversing Climate Change. I'm a longtime climate tech and carbon removal entrepreneur, and I did a fun little experiment today. And I'll tell you all about it, but please let me ask you first if you will please become a paid subscriber of the Reversing Climate Change podcast. It means so much to me. I've had a number of people sign up, and it's been fantastic to see people engaging with bonus content on Spotify. It's been great just to have the support. It's $5 a month. You can get an ad-free listening experience. You get access to exclusive bonus content. Certain segments of shows I excerpt and make exclusive to subscribers. A lot of the shows, they're so broad that oftentimes I will cut to focus, but there'll be really important, meaty sections that I will remove for the sake of flow and making sure I don't make episodes that are too long for you. But if you want more, there's often really great content here. So in the show notes at the very top, you can click on a link to subscribe. $5 a month. You can become a paid subscriber of Reversing Climate Change. It means the world to me when people do this. Thank you so much for everyone who has already done this. I love it. I'm so grateful. If you're not ready to do that, but you still want to help, if you could open up Spotify right now, give this show a 5-star rating. That's very, very helpful. Same thing if you're an Apple Podcast, but you can also write a review. If you wrote me a great review and gave me 5 stars, I would be tremendously thankful. It helps me get this show out to more people, which is what we want. And hey, thanks for listening. Here, I'm going to start telling you now about what is this weird little show you're about to enjoy. So Descript and ChatGPT are doing a thing now where you can enter a prompt into ChatGPT and Descript will make it into a video, a proper video, with AI-generated voice, with images to match. It's a brave new world. I have a friend who's very into AI art and what the future holds for it. And I have some thoughts about it. And they're not perhaps the normal ones that you would hear, but I have a former career. I wouldn't say like the most successful career, but I previously worked in Los Angeles, screenwriting and producing and doing various jobs on film sets. And I know some people who have been very successful and they were successful immediately, drafted out of college or during college successful. I also know people who were grinding for 10 to 15 years and are just now starting to pull through and to have a really nice career. And I know people who went to very good schools, did everything right, and are now only barely catching on to the first major rung on the ladder. And I know people who have struggled for a long time and haven't made it or have since moved on. So I know a pretty wide range of people who have had various types of success in the creative arts. And I have one friend in Los Angeles who's very smart. This person went to an Ivy League school, is a great writer. I've read several of their scripts. And finally, after a decade plus, got staffed onto a procedural show. And they're not that good in general. As a genre, they are more likely than many things to be filler. Think of all the shows that have vocational framing to them. If it's a police department, it's about doctors, it's about fire departments, it's about crime scene investigations. They're very formulaic. They are not things that have a lot of what we consider to be some of the best artistic attributes of television. I'm not going to be comparing this to something like Succession. It's the first thing I thought of that we might consider a form of very dark comedic art. I was reflecting on the career of Vince Gilligan from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, because Vince Gilligan came from a quasi-procedural background. He wrote for the X-Files, and X-Files is many things, but it is also procedural. It is a monster of the week show. It's campy. No one's going to be remembering it 100 years from now as a show, perhaps like something like Twin Peaks that will still be referenced decades from now as being one of the best things that come out of television as a medium. It's one of those shows that, it's pulpy. It's pulp fiction. That's part of the fun of it, though. By the way, none of this is a dig at X-Files per se. There are plenty of shows and types of content that I consume that are pulpy in similar ways, and that's fine. But Vince Gilligan was a staff writer for a long time. And as far as I know, fairly undistinguished. And then he writes the Breaking Bad script, and he just gets catapulted. And it probably took him, 20 years of cranking out procedural scripts and working on these shows that are decent to good shows, but certainly not the best of the medium before he was able to go. And what I worry about with people who get their start with procedural television like this is that it is most likely the easiest show to AI generate possible. I am sure if it doesn't already exist, someone's going to do it soon. They're going to go through and feed all public court records and all police records into AI and start cranking out shows. For all the things that they haven't done, for the most successful types of shows, all of that data is going to be mined. And my friend who worked hard and went to a great school, there's not going to be a job for these entry-level writers to just grind and work and get their skills up to become the next Vince Gilligan. I think a lot of those jobs are going to vanish and writers' rooms are going to change in that way. The people who are just like the people I named at the beginning of this show, who are drafted out of college or from college while they're still students, they're probably going to be okay because they're just a certain level of talent that is obvious to everyone. The people I know like this, by the way, none of them were surprising to me. They were people that I knew where I'm like, yeah, you're really, really talented. And it's obvious to everyone that this is going to happen. And those people will still get work and still be successful. But for the people who were probably more like me or my friend, there's like a lot of development and sanding down those rough edges and practice. And I think there's going to be fewer positions available. And that's what I worry about for the generation of art. That being said, I'm also pretty excited about customizability here because I'm going to have access to content that is going to blow my mind and be some of the kinds of stories that I love. I would not be surprised if my favorite content 5 years from now is something that AI generated with me in mind. And one thing I think about with AI that's really interesting to me is that I think in the future, as this video details, we're going to be able to increasingly be able to just prompt very closely the kinds of stories that we like and tweak them and customize them. And I find that to be a very strange thing because we primarily consume media alone. Well, actually, I don't know about that. I imagine many people consume quite a bit of media alone, and it's very much algorithmically targeted to your very specific tastes. How much fun would you have looking through someone else's Instagram feed? Probably not as much as your own. That's just because the data that they have on you allows them to serve very targeted content. And the thing that I like about the kinds of media that I'm attracted to, especially for fiction, I like reading old fiction. I don't like a lot of contemporary fiction, and it's not because we only used to make really great stuff and new stuff isn't as good as old stuff. I don't like that take. I don't actually think that's true. I think part of it is the Lindy effect, which is the longer that something's been around, the more likely it is to persist. And I also like the quote unquote Western canon classics. I like classics from the East too, but that's often how it's described. I like the books, the art, the literature that has survived the test of time. If you read the Bible, even if you're not a Christian or Jewish or Muslim, it doesn't really matter. It's a very influential book. The stories are everywhere. It's worth reading just for the literary value alone. And that's true a lot of the classics that have survived. There's very few quote unquote classics that are not worth at least some amount of familiarity with. I think they're very good uses of your time to read very old, very long books. Go read Don Quixote, go read Tolstoy, go read the Bible, go read Dante, go read the Book of Five Rings, whatever. Just a lot of these books, they're still around because they are good. And even if they're not good and you don't especially enjoy them, the thing that is great about consuming widely influential media is that you're joining a conversation with your civilization or the civilization of another. And that's something that you cannot get from highly customized material. When we're not really consuming art that others even see because it's something that we're generating from custom prompts that we're entering into AI interfaces, I wonder if we start losing the connection of art that we all share. And even when the negative version of it is somehow knitting together. Coming of age, I have strong memories of certain things being hated by the artsy kids in middle school and high school. I think it might have been middle school when Creed and Nickelback came around. And it was just as much a cultural phenomenon to hate these bands, for better or for worse. What happens in the future where there's enough data points about you that sublime art can be made that will satisfy you with far less variance than what you could get from searching out on Spotify genuinely, quote unquote, genuinely made art? I think that future is coming. And I think we're going to lose some of the connective nature that art is going to provide for us. It's going to become progressively more solipsistic. We will retreat into our own worlds where the amount of pleasure that we can derive from a piece of art has been so perfectly customized to how we like the dopamine and the cortisol to flow at exactly the right moments will be an ever-learning process. And we are going to feel that, and that is going to be something that we've never before had in human history. I think that's going to make everything that is not customized in this way largely disappointing. I don't know how anything that could have the variability, the uncertainty of non-customizability, I don't see how that couldn't just fail. And as there's more data about the kinds of stories that we like, that our devices react to, how our facial expressions and our eyes dilate, it's only going to get better. And I think there's a good chance that the future that we're looking into is a lot more like The Matrix. It's funny to see which of these pieces of art, especially sci-fi, which makes predictions about the future. I've long been captured by this idea of humans at some point had allowed synthetic intelligences to put them into pods where all of their physical needs would be met, that they would have a simulated world. And that was better in some ways. Humans were in the process of destroying the planet. They excluded themselves from future participation in the governance, participation in life on Earth, to retreat into a virtual realm in order to try to preserve what was left of the planet, is my recollection of it. And I think we're headed in a direction that's similar to that with AI art. I think we're going to retreat increasingly into virtual worlds because they're going to be less disappointing. They're going to be more fun. They're going to be catered to exactly what we will want. The difficult business of living as we have known it for all of human, mammalian, eukaryotic life. Probably not prokaryotic. All of eukaryotic life, that is going to be something that will increasingly be seen as inefficient and dreadful. So I made this weird little video for a minute, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks for letting me run through some of my thoughts on the future of the creative arts.
In The Matrix, the machines keep humanity sedated in a simulated world, feeding people illusions of pleasure and purpose. At first, it seems dystopian. After all, freedom is supposed to be sacred. But here's the uncomfortable question. Were the machines right? If technology can craft endless entertainment perfectly customized for our every desire, will we even want to leave our cocoons? When podcasts, art, music, and connection are machine-made but indistinguishable from the real thing, does it still matter who made them? Maybe AI won't imprison us with force but seduce us with pleasure, so, immersive, we'll never want to emerge. And if we don't care, what does that say about us? Were the machines just giving humanity exactly what it asked for all along? Is it not strange that this was made by AI from the prompting of a podcaster wondering about his creative future?